when I was looking at the ADP for the tight ends, there was no one that I thought was really egregiously being overdrafted. Like I thought the value of where they were being drafted was pretty fair, more or less. Like I said, there wasn't one person where I was like, oh yeah, that's the guy that I think is going to bust. So that being said, I had to pick someone for the show. I'm not super confident about it. I'm just going to throw it out there, but that all those hops are doing something to me here.
This pick is so bad, even your own body doesn't want you to put it out there.
I know. So yeah, I have Zach Ertz currently being drafted at tight end 9. Again, I don't hate where he's being drafted. He finished inside the top 10 last year. The only thing I could say is why I picked him is that maybe he's going to do really well for the first 6 games of the season while Hopkins is out. But I think then when Hopkins gets back and they have Hollywood Brown now, Rondale Moore is going to be in the second year of, in the league. Those 3 wide receivers, I think they're going to take all those targets away from Ertz. The only reason we saw Ertz get a lot of targets and get a lot of play last year is because Hopkins was dinged up and injured, and the corpse of AJ Green was trying to do things and wasn't really doing a whole lot, and Christian Kirk was doing Christian Kirk things, not being overly impressive. So it was one of those, I think by necessity, that's what happened, because they had to get the ball to someone, and he was the one that was able to get open and get the ball. Like I said, maybe it'll be somewhat like that for the first few games of the season and he'll ball out. But I think long-term for the season, I think he's going to end up busting and not returning that ADP. Like I said, I'm not super confident about this. But it is what it is.
I hate it.
Whoop.
I hate it. Dustin, I didn't even do that to you. I know.
I did it to myself.
Okay. I thought Zach Ertz actually got a hold of our stream for a second and said, fuck this guy. And I have to say, I lean more on Zach's side on this one. I do love Zach Ertz, especially because of the Hopkins suspension to start off. It's so important for me in a draft. And this is from noted tight end awful projectionist here. I need the security blanket of those first 6 safe starts. And so if I can get a guy at tight end 9, middle to late rounds that I feel comfortable with, I'll be doing that. Yeah, but I will say, to your point, what happens after Hopkins comes back is a little bit cloudier. So I'll give you that. I will give you that. And I feel better after your preamble about this being a difficult decision to actually find someone.
That was like the other ones on my list. I was like, okay, I had pretty good sound reasoning why I thought these guys would bust, and I got the tight end and I'm like, fuck man, I stared at it forever. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I got to have something here.
You just got entranced.
Yep. So anyway, who do you got?
All those names. Well, I like to think that I picked the only true bust out of this category. His name is Mike Gosicki. I've been off the Mike Gosicki train notably for quite some time on this podcast.
Year since he's been in the league.
Yeah, basically. I don't think he was on my radar his rookie season, to be fair. But every season after that, that's absolutely correct. And I don't see it changing. So we already saw, I won't hit too much on this one because we covered a lot of these points with Tyreek Hill already to some extent. It's a fraction of what can Tua support. So if we treat Mike Gosicki like people want him to be treated, which is as a wide receiver, essentially, more than a tight end, a traditional tight end, which is what people want. Thank you, Mike. Mike says, fuck that guy too. I don't know if he's talking about me or Mike Gosicki, though, to be fair. So maybe I shouldn't applaud that yet. But Mike Gosicki, again, if you want him to be a wide receiver, well, now he is the wide receiver 3 on this team. And yes, I understand for tight ends, it's still a scarce position. However, as we look down this list, you're talking about being able to find a name on here that screamed like bust. There is a lot of, and this happens every year, so I'm probably just falling into a trap. There's a lot of guys after Gosicki I would rather have over Gosicki straight up, let alone at their ADP. I mean, I've talked on here about my Evan Ingram love before, which I know is gross to people, and I understand it. But I would rather have him straight up, or Austin Hooper straight up over Mike Gosicki at this point. He's already, though, so if he is a wide receiver, that's what you're dealing with, but he is emphasizing blocking in training camp right now. That is the big thing that's been happening the last week or so. Now, I know that the news alert came through. Adam Shaheen got traded from the Dolphins to the Texans today. So wheels up on Mike Gosicki, because Adam Shaheen was going to be his stick in his craw. Apparently.
Yeah, and can we just talk about that trade for like 2 seconds? That was like a freaking dynasty trade, man. Shaheen in a 7th for a 6th. Like, come on. It's like, hey, we'll throw the 7th round pick on there just to make this trade happen. Basically, is what it came down to.
It's so terrible, and I don't know why the Texans. Whatever, it's the Texans. I guess that's all we have to say about that. Yeah, why would they think that he is the piece for them this year?
Yep.
I don't know.
Yep.
In any case, Mike Gosicki last year, PPR formats, he was tight end 9. At this point, talking about drafting a guy at his ceiling, you're basically drafting Mike Gosicki at or very near his ceiling. If you're going to do this, if he's tight end 12, so I understand bust is relative in this stance, but if you're going to do this with somebody with more upside, please, for the love of God. There's no reason for a Mike Gosicki on your roster here this year. Why? So he can maybe get you 6 to 7 points a game. Enjoy, take those guys towards the end of your draft. I mean, him versus Cole Kmet should not be a question to me this year, because one of them is a lot for volume, and that is not Gosicki. And Kmet is going one spot after him currently.
I'm not a Hunter Henry fan, but I would take Hunter Henry over Gosicki this year just for the touchdown volume alone. I mean, Hunter Henry will give you those spike weeks there where at least he'll help you win some weeks, as opposed to just putting up your, like you said, 7 points or whatever, yeah, give me a guy that at least will help me win a few weeks here and there.
It's a fool's errand. Yeah, going after him. And Mike, I agree with Mike in the chat. Ruined Brevin Jordan. But also Gosicki can't break a tackle, which is really the part that I wanted to hammer home. So thank you for that.